I got some video I want to play for you guys. It was the first thing I saw this morning. I didn't see it last night. And, Coleman Hawkins was a 4-year superstar at Illinois. Over the course of his career, he's played 156 games in the NCAA at either Illinois or Baylor or Kansas State, excuse me. He started 112 games. He put his name in for the draft last year, took it out, and signed a $2 million deal with Kansas State. And that $2 million deal was, at the time, released. I mean, it's legit $2 million. There's a lot of guys around the NCAA. You say Jaden Quaintance, I was out in Tempe. I saw him driving a Maybach. Like, how much did he get paid? Well, a lot of times, people that know, right? And maybe they'll tell you. But as a broadcaster, that's not for air. And we're in this weird zone that you don't talk about that stuff. Out of respect for whoever told you, and out of respect for the fact that you don't want to put that on the player, right? Because the more and more you talk about Jaden Quaintance or, Josan Sannon, or some of these other amazing freshmen, VJ Edgecombe, right? You talk about the money he's getting, or maybe the disparity between himself and another sensational freshman, Rob Wright. You can create all kinds of drama. So it's been best, even at our seminar preseason in Charlotte for ESPN College Basketball. It wasn't like, hey, don't talk about the NIL. Don't talk about that these guys are getting paid. We're happy they're getting paid. But if you're going to talk about it, remind people that these guys are using this money for a lot of good stuff, which is true. A lot of these guys are now able to use this money to help their family, come see them play, right? Like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, a lot of kids had to play really close to home or if they wanted their parents to see them play. A great story from Corey Williams, who played at Arizona, a dude from Chicago who I've called a bunch of games with at ESPN. Corey's one of the coolest dudes out there, by the way. And if you listen to a full game of him broadcasting, you can kind of glean that pretty quickly. Like, dude, this guy's cool. Yeah, he is that cool. A lot of hip hop knowledge, a lot of culture knowledge, just a real high Q rating with folks that watch Corey broadcast. And he was also a sniper. But Corey talks about the fact that his parents could never come to see him play in Tucson because it was too much money. If they wanted to come see him play, they would usually drive out for the preseason tournament and stay a couple days. He says, with his humility, because Arizona had a tournament where they would play a bunch of bad teams, so they knew that Corey was going to play, and they would get a chance to spend some time with him around the holidays. Corey, by the way, made 4 threes in a semifinal game where Arizona lost to Arkansas, an Arkansas team that would eventually win the championship in '94. Corey was a great player, even though he'll try to fool you into thinking that he wasn't all that great. But it's cool to see these guys use this money for good things. But it's not cool when there's a lot of pressure heaped on these guys because of all the money they're making. And I've got Exhibit A for you, okay? Coleman Hawkins. In June, it was announced through his agent, right? His agent is Nate Conley and another dude, Adam Turner. I think they work for Versus Sports. So they're legit agents. In a world where guys who are car salesmen or, guys that work in insurance or guys that work at a gym and they befriend a player and all of a sudden they're brokering deals between the player and the university, or a collective, right? A collective more often than not for an NIL money. These guys are not agents. They're not certified. A lot of times the certification, are you certified by the NFL? But you don't have to be certified to be an agent in the NFL, and you don't have to be certified certainly to be an agent for these guys in college that are trying to finally get some money for the first time. But in this case, these guys, Aaron Turner and Nate Conley, they are agents. They represent Coleman Hawkins. And in June, they made it public. They went to Shams Charania, right? Because these guys have clients in the NBA, so obviously they know Shams. They go to Shams and they say, hey, we got great news. Coleman Hawkins is going to Kansas State. We got him $2 million to play at Kansas State. People are like, wow. Whew. Coleman Hawkins, really? $2 million? Well, Kansas State, they're buying a championship, right? Coleman Hawkins is going to deliver. He had took his name just about a month earlier out of the NBA draft because he had put his name in for the NBA draft. Whatever happened, they didn't see, they didn't get the attention that they wanted to get. So now Coleman Hawkins is going to go to Kansas State. Okay, it's made official through Shams. How much he's making is $2 million all season long. And I had a chance to call a couple Kansas State games. First of all, I can tell you to a man, Coleman Hawkins is an amazing kid. Everyone around that program I talked to was like, the kid is awesome. He's amazing. But he's under a lot of pressure this year. Coach Tang, who's one of the best coaches in the world as far as being able to work with these young men and get them to a place where they can succeed in life and on the basketball court. Coach Tang told us, it was myself and I think it was Corey Williams or maybe Scott Williams. We were talking to him before a game and he said, I'm just trying to get Coleman to be more aggressive. He's so proud of the fact that he's a passer and he's got high basketball IQ. He's constantly trying to show it off. And I wish he would defer a little bit more, I wish he would be a little bit more aggressive. But all this stuff, the more and more that I paid attention to it, you felt like this dude was playing with the weight of the world on his shoulders all season long. And last night, after their loss to Baylor, more than likely Kansas State's last game of the year, I shouldn't say that. They could end up playing in the NIT. I had them in the NIT last year in their first game against Iowa, their only game because they lost. And there's also that Crown tournament this year that they could actually be a perfect candidate for. And I promise one of these days I will get into the actual logistics and explain to you what the Crown is. But I can tell you that it's an invitation that is mandatory for Power 4 teams that don't make the NCAA tournament, as I understand it. And there's also NIL money in it for the players as they win. But back to the pressure around Coleman Hawkins all season long. It came to a head last night post-game. And I love when players are honest, and I appreciate what he had to say. But I'll let him say it so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Let's listen to Coleman Hawkins post-game.
I feel like I let a lot of people down.
How do I get this on?
I feel like
All right, now, see, here we go. Let's do it this way. No, we'll do it this way. Okay.
did a poor job of letting people. I feel like I let a lot of people down. I feel like I did a poor job of letting people talk about me and it affect my play. And it was evident all year, and I wish I could just go back and block out everything, not for myself, but for the team, so we could have a...
Dude, I'm going to play it one more time.
I feel like I let a lot of people down. I feel like I did a poor job of letting people talk about me and it affect my play. And it was evident all year, and I wish I could just go back and block out everything, not for myself, but for the team, so we could have a...
So that's a couple things there, right? That's a young man. And, you know, what's your definition of young? I mean, he's probably 22 now, but that's a guy who was not anticipating the amount of pressure that was put on him this year. And I'm not talking about pressure within the team. I'm talking about people all over the country knowing that this young college player had a $2 million deal that he was playing on this year. And it was unfortunate because all year long you heard on social media how he was, or not all year long, but at times people would say he was overpaid. Kansas State fans are awesome. Boy, they're rabid too. And I'm not saying they're negative, but they'll let you know. I mean, I've had a couple dust ups with Kansas State fans calling games myself. One was a fun one this year when I called Brandon Hawson the Armadillo Assassin, which actually had some legs and was a lot of fun for the program. Not so much for me for a little bit, but I've eventually leaned in. His nickname is the Amarillo Assassin. But, you know, they let you know about it. And I would imagine for all the fun, positive people that let me know about that, were some negative people And I'm not just saying specifically to folks in Manhattan, Kansas that root on the Kansas State Wildcats, folks all over the country, right? Like, are you kidding me? $2 million for this guy? Coleman Hawkins is a great kid. He had an amazing career. I think, actually, I don't know. I'm going to say something stupid. I hope he plays in the NBA, and I hope he plays awesome. As far as I understand, his eligibility is done. Coleman Hawkins went on to say that Coach Tang told them in the locker room after the game that this is a team that's going to win a national championship at some point. And I believe in Coach Tang, and I do not have that out of the picture at all. This was a tough year for Coach Tang. And when you think about, they have one of the best teams, right? With a Coleman Hawkins, with a Doug McDaniel. A lot of folks were really excited about, and you have Paul Gasson, who is unbelievable. And his career is over now. And I think some of the emotion we saw from Coleman Hawkins has a lot to do with his leader, Jerome Tang, because when you have a leader like Coach Tang, you really become so invested. You understand that the leaders love you and you want to perform for them. And I have to admit, I have to believe that Coleman Hawkins is upset that he didn't get to deliver. But I'm going to play this one more time, and I want you guys to listen to what he says about other people and how he let it affect him. One more time.
I feel like I let a lot of people down. I feel like I did a poor job of letting people talk about me and it affect my play.
So there you have it. Like I people talking about me, it affected my play. It's a bummer, dude. It's a total bummer. And you wish Coleman Hawkins the absolute best. The positive of that is I think he got paid $2 million at the end of the day. So he does have the $2 million bucks. Or he should. And I think he probably learned a lot from Coach Tang this year. And this is probably a lesson he'll be able to use going forward. And in life, when stuff like this happens to you, Coleman Hawkins seems like he's the kind of guy that will be able to turn around and carry that message to other guys.